In order to just achieve the mission or achieve the goals of the company, we need to break down that strategy into different levels. We all know that any organization, whenever it is set up, it will be based on the vision of the founder of the organization. The divisions based on the products which it produces, so that we call it as the product structure. Whatever kind of a business it has, for the entire corporation, they make a strategy which we call it as the corporate level strategy. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. In this session, we will be having a discussion on the model question paper for this subject, that is business policy for 6th Sem B.B.A students. Come, let us see what are the questions here. Now, in this, I have taken the question paper of 2021. So, in this question paper, we will be having three parts, that is part A, part B and part C. Now, in part A, it comprises of 15 marks questions. 4 questions of 15 marks. Out of that, you will have to answer any 2 questions. And in the 10 marks, you will be having 6 questions. Out of that, you will have to answer any 3. And then again, in the 5 mark section, there will be 6 questions. Out of that, you will have to answer any 4. So, totally the paper is for 80 marks. Now, let us see what are the questions here. Now, the first question is, what is strategic management? Explain the nature and objectives of strategic management. So, we all know that this subject of business policy, it is based on the strategic management. So, we have to write what is the meaning of the strategic management, and also we will have to explain what are the features of strategic management and what are the objectives of strategic management. So, what is the meaning of strategic management? Strategic management is the management of an organization's resources to achieve its goals and objectives. So, strategic management is necessary for any organization in realizing its goals and objectives. Now, let us see the characteristics of strategic management. First one is top management involvement. So, we should understand that strategic management is done only with the involvement of the top management. Why? Because top management is always involved in the decision making process. So, whatever decisions they take, it will be carried down to all other levels of the organization, and as such, the strategic management decision, we need to have the top management involvement. Now, who comprises of the top management? We have the CEO or the chairman of the organization, we have the board of directors, and all the general managers of the various heads. So, they comprise the top management, and these top management, with the involvement of the top management itself, we have to formulate the strategic management. Then, second one is requirement of large amounts of resources. Now, whenever we need to have a strategic management, we should understand that allocation of resources is necessary to implement any strategy, be it any plan or any strategy. The allocation of resources is necessary, and as such, top management involvement is required in this strategic management. Then third one is it affects the firm's long-term prosperity. So, whenever strategic management is undertaken or whenever we need strategic management, it is there for the long-term prosperity. We think about in the long run where the company will be. In the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, where will we see the company? And as such, the plans will be made for the long-term prosperity of the company. The company will not be interested in short-term gains, but they will be interested in getting the long-term prosperity for the organization. Then fourth one is future oriented. So, we all know that whenever we make any plans, it is always bridging the gap between the present and the future, and as such, strategic management is always future oriented because the plans are always made for the next 5 years or next 10 years or the next 15 years, and that is why we say that strategic management is future oriented. Then fifth one is multifunctional or multi-business consequences, non-self-generative decisions. So, this strategic management, it is there for multifunctional or multi-business consequences. So whenever we undertake strategic management, it is a multifunctional management. Why do we say multifunctional? Because it will be there for the entire organization. So when we make a plan for the strategy, when we strategize for the company as a whole, so it will be always based on the objectives and mission of the company. So in order to just achieve the mission or achieve the goals of the company, we need to break down that strategy into different levels. So what is the strategy for the middle level? What is the strategy for the lowest level? So in this way, when we strategize for each level of the organization, we will be able to achieve the goals of the business, and as such we call it as multifunctional or multi-business consequences. So whenever the company is engaged in diverse products, that is, it has a variety of products which it is offering to its customers, then it will be engaged in this strategic management, because this strategic management will be bringing in lot of results to the company, and as such we say that it gives multi-business consequences or non-self-generative decisions. So these kind of strategic management decisions, they are not non-self-generative. That is, we have to have a definite plan to see where the company will be in the next 10 years. So based on that plan only, we will be making a strategy, and based on the strategy, the company will be moving forward, and as such, so these are the features of the strategic management. And later on, we will also have to write what are the objectives of the company. So the main objectives of the company are, we have to see what are the vision, mission and goals. We have to see that the company will make the optimum utilization of the resources and ensure that the vision, mission and goals of the companies are properly achieved, and it is achieved efficiently and effectively. Then the next question is, what is strategic planning? Explain the stages of strategic planning. So we all know that what is planning? Planning is deciding today what we have to do in the future. So in the PU classes, we all study what is a plan, what are the types of plan. So here we will be studying about what is strategic planning. So we have to discuss what is strategic planning. So the answer is, strategic planning is a process in which an organization's leaders define their vision for the future and identify the organizational goals and objectives. So we all know that any organization, whenever it is set up, it will be based on the vision of the founder of the organization. The founder will have a motive. So he will have a vision for the organization, and based on the vision, we will be having the mission and the objectives and goals for the organization. And as such, strategic planning is a process. So it is the process in which the leaders define their vision for the future. So the top brass, whoever are there in the organization, they will be defining the vision for the future and identify the organizational goals. So based on the vision, we will be identifying the goals of the organization and also the objectives of the organization. Now we have to just see what are the stages in strategic planning. So first one is identify. What do we need to identify here? So in this stage of the strategic planning, we have to identify what is the vision of the organization. So what is the vision? And based on the vision, we have to just draw a list of what are the strengths of the organization and what are the weaknesses of the organization. So we also have to have a study of the internal environment of the business and also the external environment of the business. And based on all this, and also based on the market research data, whatever is collected, and based on the customers' feedback, etc. So everything will be collated together, and then we will be able to just identify what is the goal of the organization and what are the objectives of the organization. So, keeping the vision in mind, the goals for the organization and the mission for the organization will be set up. So, in the stage of strategic planning, that is in this identification stage, we will be having a thorough study of the internal and external environment of the business, and also what are the various factors which affect our business, who are the various stakeholders, what are their expectations, who are the customers, what are the expectations, etc. And based on all this, we have to make the strategic planning. Then second one is prioritize. Now, what do we need to prioritize here? So, here we make the vision and then we just identify the vision, and based on the vision, we have the objectives of the organization. Now, in the second stage, we prioritize the objectives. How do we prioritize the objectives? So, what are those objectives which should be given top priority? Then comes all those objectives which are not so very important, and then later on comes those objectives which are least important. So, we have to prioritize the objectives in such a way that what are the first things first, and then comes the less important ones, and then comes the least important ones. Then in the third stage of strategic planning, we have to develop. Now, what do we have to develop? We have to develop the plans for the various objectives which we have formulated for the organization. So, based on the most important objective, what are the plans which we have to do? So, and we have to see that the plans are developed with the time frame. So, these most important objectives should come with the time frame, because once we lose the time, we will not be able to realize the objectives. So, it is essential for us to develop the plans based on the objectives, and we should also assign a time frame for each of these plans. Then the next stage is the implementation stage. Now, once we have formulated the plans for the entire organization, the next stage will be the implementation part. So, whatever strategy we have drawn up for the entire organization, we have to see that it is implemented in each of the levels of the organization. Whether it is the top level, middle level, or the lowest level of the organization, we have to see that all these plans are implemented properly. Then the last one is the update. Now, in this update stage, we have to ensure that whatever the plans are being implemented, the work is going as per the plans. And if the work is not going as per the plans, then we have to again see what are the various factors which are affecting the work of the organization. And then again, if it calls for a revision of the plans, then we have to revise our plans, and then we have to put it into action. So, these are the stages in strategic planning. Now, the next question, the third question, it is, what is organization structure? Explain the various structures for strategy. Now, what is this organization structure? So, we all know that the organization is running based on an organization structure. So, what is this organization structure? It is a network of relationships, or it is a chain of relationships existing in the organization, where each of the positions in the chain are interlinked with each other with the authority and responsibility relationship. So, if you go back to your PU classes, you will be understanding what is the organizational structure. So, whenever we create an organization, so the organization will have different levels, that is the top level, middle level, and the lower level. So, in these organization structures as such, we will be creating various positions within each of the levels of the organization. Now, within these positions itself, we will be giving the authority and responsibility relationship for each position in the organization. So, who is answerable to whom, who is the boss and who is the subordinate, and who has the authority over the subordinate, and which subordinate will have which boss. So, all these relationships will be determined in the organizational structure. Then this organizational structure, so let us see what is the meaning here. It is a system used to define a hierarchy within an organization. So it is a hierarchy within an organization. So what kind of hierarchy? We have the top management, middle management and the lower level management. So this is the kind of hierarchy here, and in this kind of a hierarchy, within this hierarchy we have a structure. So it identifies each job, its function and where it reports to within the organization. So in each of the jobs, so we will be each job, its function and where it reports to within the organization. So in this organization structure, we will be creating various job positions. So in this job position, each job position will have its own authority, it will have its own duties, it will have its own responsibilities, and then it will also have its own subordinates also. The subordinates will be knowing who is the boss, and the boss will be able to give the orders to his subordinates, and he should be able to get the work done through his subordinates. So it identifies each job, its function and where it reports to within the organization. So who is reporting, who is answerable, who is accountable, who is responsible for each job. So that framework within which the entire organization runs, so that is called as the organizational structure. Now the different types of organizational structure, the first one is the functional organization structure. Now what is a functional organization structure? It is a structure based on the functions. So we have a division of the functions in the organization. So we have the different functions in the organization. So here we have a department exclusively for the HR. Then we have a department for sales. Then we have a department for accounts. And then we have a departments for marketing, etc. So department for production, department for purchases, etc. So in this way we should be able to understand that based on the functions in the organization, we are creating various divisions within the organization, and such a kind of organization we call it as the functional organizational structure. Then second one is the product structure. Now what is this product structure? So when we divide the organization based on the products it manufactures, then we call that organization as the product structure. So in this, if the company is into production of cosmetics, so we have one cosmetics department. Then with the company is also producing footwear, then we say it is in the footwear, there is one division for footwear. Then it is for textiles. So if it is into cloth production, we call it as textiles. Then even if it is producing consumer durables, so the divisions based on the products which it produces, so that we call it as the product structure. Now in this kind of a product structure, again they will have various divisions based on the functions. So suppose if the company is producing cosmetics, then in the cosmetics itself, again they will be having the HR department, accounts department, sales department, production department and the purchases department. And again the same thing in the footwear also. In the footwear section also, again there will be a repetition of the various departments like the HR, sales, then accounts and then marketing, etc. Again for textiles and for consumer durables, again the same divisions will be there. Now which is better of this, whether it is a functional or the product? So usually the functional organization is better because it will be functioning for the entire organization, whereas in case of this case of the product structure, so there will be duplication of work. So each department will have its own HR, it will have its own purchases department, it will have have its own sales department, and as such it will be just nothing but duplication of efforts. So when the company is based on the functional structure, we can say that there is less duplication of work and the company can work more efficiently. Then we have to write both the advantages of functional organization and disadvantages, and you have to write the advantages and disadvantages of the product structure of the organization. Then organizational structure by geographical area. Now what is this geographical area? So based on the various divisions, we will be creating various divisions based on the geographical area, that is the North Division, South Division, East Division, West Division, Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, Southwest. So we create various divisions for the organization based on the area where it is located. So such a kind of a structure we call it as the geographical area. Then we have the decentralized organization structure. Now what is this decentralized organization structure? So this decentralized organization structure will be a flat structure where there will be only one head and he will be taking all the decisions. He will be given all the powers to take all the decisions relating to that particular division of the organization, and as such it will be a flat structure. So if you have various levels of organization, so it will be a pyramid structure, whereas if it is a decentralized organization structure, we can say that it is a flat structure. Then the fourth question is, discuss the factors that influence production strategy. Now, what are those factors which influence the production strategy? So, we have to discuss here. Now, in this production strategy, we have to discuss the operations function. Now, what do we mean by operations function? So, actual production function. So, whether let it be any kind of a manufacturing organization, what is the process through which the production takes place? So, that we call it as the operations function. And this operations function is the way, the process of the actual process how the production will take place. So that it will be affecting the production structure. Second one is decision making in operations. Now what do we mean by decision making in operations? So whether it is the supply of the raw materials to the plant or whether it is ordering the supply of stock for the stock division. So all this will be in the decision making in operations. So when is the right time to order the stock of raw materials for the plant, and when we should have an overtime of the production. So all these are major decision making areas which will affect the production strategy. Then the next one is the product design. So what is the design of the product you are doing, and this will affect the production strategy. Next one is the process selection. So what is the process by which the product is being made? So that process, what kind of a process you need? So that also will be affecting the production strategy. Then the choice of technology. So what kind of a technology you are using, whether it is the latest technology or the outdated technology. Then next one is the facilitate decisions. So what kind of decisions you will be taking which will affect the production strategy. Then the inventory management. So inventory management means that it will also involve the stock of raw materials, the stock of finished goods, the stock of goods which are work in progress. So how do you manage all this? So all these factors will affect the production strategy. Then quality planning and control. So what is the kind of quality you are giving for the consumers? What kind of quality products you are giving? Then also the control. Quality control means how do you control how do you try to maintain the quality of the products? So these are the various factors which affect the production strategy. So the production strategy has to be formulated based on these factors because they directly affect the production of the organization. Then coming to part B, so we have this, in this section we have questions which carry 10 marks each. So for 10 marks you will have to write at least 2 pages, and in this let us see what is the question here. Briefly explain the strategic levels in an organization. So this is the most repeated question of the business policy paper. So any paper you see, you will be getting finding a question on strategic levels. Now, we all know that there are 4 levels in the organization, that is the corporate level, business level and the functional level. So, in this we have the 3 levels here, that is the corporate level strategy, business level strategy and the functional level strategy. Now, what is this corporate level strategy? So, the corporate level strategy will be the strategy for the entire corporation. So, whatever kind of a business it has, for the entire corporation, they make a strategy which we call it as the corporate level strategy. Then the second part will be the business level strategy. So in this business level strategy, so for each business, what is the kind of a strategy you are formulating, that will come under this business level strategy. And lastly, the functional level strategy. So in this functional level strategy, we will be just deciding on how we will be realizing the company's goals and objectives. So the actual work will be done in the functional level strategy as such. So you have to explain what is the corporate level strategy, what are the features of the corporate level, business level, functional level, and what are the various things involved. So all those you will have to explain in each, and then you will be ready with the final answer. Then next one is, what is BCG matrix? Explain its elements. So this is also the most favorite question of the question paper framers. So they will be asking what is BCG matrix. So BCG model, or this is also called as the Boston Consulting Group model. So this is a BCG model involves SBUs being plotted on a matrix according to the rate of market growth and a market share relative to that of the largest competitors. So BCG matrix, so whenever they ask you, we should understand that B stands for Boston, C stands for consulting, G stands for group. Boston Consulting Group. So BCG model. So in this BCG model, they divide the strategic business units. So how many other business units you have? So they will be divided based on the rate of market growth. So each unit, they will be assessing the rate of market growth of each unit and their market share. So what is the rate of growth and what is the share of the market? So it will be in comparison of that of the largest competitor. So what is the share of each of the SBUs in relation to the largest competitor, and also the rate of the market growth. So based on this, so they have come up with a grid. So in this quad, we have a figure here, or the matrix here, with 4 quadrants. So in this, the first quadrant relates to the stars, the second quadrant relates to the question marks, third one is the cash cows, fourth one is the dogs. Now, what are these stars? So, in the stars, they have a relatively high market growth and the cash flow is modest or negative. So, cash flow is somewhat not very good, but they have a very high market growth. But if you come to this question marks or the problem children, so we should understand that problem children are always a headache to the parents. The same way, these kind of SBUs, so they have large negative cash flow. So they have a high growth rate, but then the cash flow is very, very less. Then the next one is the cash cows. So cash cows have a low market growth, but then they have a very good cash flow. Cash cows means, so you can encash on those SBUs. So these SBUs are doing very well, but with a very low market growth rate. Growth rate in the market is low, but then the revenue for the company will be very good. So those companies, we call it as the cash cows. And last one is the dogs. So that these dogs are, they have a very low market rate also, and they have a relatively low share in the market, and they have a very modest or negative cash flow. So these we call it as the dogs. So when we just identify what kind of units fall in which quadrant, we have to then see that they just move to the next portion. So that is, if they are identified as a problem children, we try to see that they become the stars. Then if they are identified as dogs, then we try to see that they turn into cash cows. What are the various strategies the company has to formulate to see that the dogs can be turned into cash cows and this question mark or the problem children can be turned into stars? So what are the various ways you have to strategize and then come up with a solution? So this is what the BCG model tells us. So you have to explain what are the stars, so what are the features of the question mark, what are the features of the cash cows, what are the features of the dogs, and how you can convert them into the cash cows and the stars. Then the next question is, what is marketing strategy? Explain its characteristics. Now, what do we mean by marketing? Marketing is nothing but the sum total of all those activities which are involved to see that the product reaches the hands of the final consumer. So what is this marketing? Marketing is nothing but you create an awareness among the consumers that there is a new product in the market which gives a solution. So what is the product? What is the meaning of the product? Product is nothing but a bundle of utilities. So why should we buy a product? Why product is purchased? Because we have some use for that product. So it may be a pen or a book or anything. So until and unless we have a use for the product, we don't purchase the product. And as such, so what in this marketing, we will be seeing that almost whatever the manufacturer produces, it will have to reach the hands of the final consumer. So what are the various plans through which the product reaches the hands of the consumer and he comes back for more? So that is the marketing strategy we need to strategize. So in this marketing strategy, we will be thinking of market-oriented strategic planning. So what is this market-oriented strategic planning? We have to see what is the kind of a product we are producing, for whom the product is being produced, and what is the kind of a strategy we are using to see that that person purchases the product. So we have to do it with careful planning. Then we have the marketing information system. What is this marketing information system? So this is a system wherein we collect the feedback from the customers. So we all know that the customer's tastes and preferences, it keeps on changing day by day, and this fashion, etc., it keeps on changing, and based on the changing customers' tastes and preferences, we have to see that the products are delivered to the consumers. So in this marketing information system, it will give us valuable feedback relating to our products from the customers, and based on their feedback, we will be able to develop the next product, or we will be also able to develop the marketing strategy. The next one is market environment. So what is this market environment? So it is the environment wherein our products will be sold. So what is the kind of a market environment our products have? So whether it is the environment is favorable or unfavorable. So all this we have to study here. And then next one is the consumer behavior. Now what is consumer behavior? So what is the kind of a behavior the consumer will express when he is purchasing the product? product. So why he makes the purchase? So what is the difference between the consumer and the buyer? So what are those things that goes on in the mind of the consumer? So all that will be there in consumer behavior. The consumer's mind is called as the black box. So why we call it as the black box? Because we don't know what goes on in the mind of the consumer. So he may enter the shop keeping in mind that he will buy a particular brand of a TV or a fridge, but then after listening to the salesman's talk, he may get influenced by him and he may decide to buy some another product. So all those whatever things that goes on in the mind of the consumer, so that is we can be seeing in this consumer behavior, and this consumer behavior becomes the most important factor that affects the marketing strategy. Then analyzing industry and the competitors. So we all know that every product which is in the market, it will have its own set of the competitors, and we will also have to see that there is one certain section of the industry which is into production of these products. So a careful study of these products and then also the competitors, these will be affecting the marketing strategy. Then identifying market segments and selecting the target markets. So why do we need to segment the market? So segmentation of the market is necessary to see that we know who our target customers are. So when we are producing the product, we should have a careful analysis of the product, what kind of a product we are producing, for whom it is we are producing, whether it is for the high income group, whether it is the middle income group, or whether it is the lower income group, and what kind of a product it is, whether it is for the two-wheeler or whether it is for the elderly people or whether it is for the youngsters. So in this way, we have to see that what kind of a product we are producing, and based on that, we have to segment the market. We have to divide the market and see that the marketing activities or whatever marketing strategy we are doing for each segment, we have a different strategy. Then differentiating and positioning the market offering. So here in this stage, we will be differentiating what kind of a market we have, so what kind of a product we have, and where we are and how we have to place the product. What is the right time to place the product? Then next one is developing new products. So we have to keep on upgrading the products. So whenever a new product is released in the market, we will have to take a feedback from the customers, and based on their feedback, we can have a new products which will be coming into the market. So this development of new product with new features is important to see that they remain in the market. Then choosing the general attack strategy. So we all know that most of the products which are in the market, they are bound to face competition from other products. So what is the kind of a strategy you use to fight your competitors? Then managing product lines, brands and packaging. So how do you manage the product line? What do you mean by product line? So product line is a line of products which are made out of the same raw material. For example, you take the example of the Nandini milk products. So that we have the Nandini milk, so we have the Nandini butter, ghee, then now we are having the Nandini gulab jamun, we have the sweets. So all these come under the same product line. So how do you manage the product line, the brands and the packaging? So brands also become very, very important. So how do you create the brand and how do you make the packaging very, very attractive to catch the eyes of the consumer? So all this will be affecting the marketing strategy, designing the pricing strategies and programs. Now, what is this pricing strategy? So pricing strategy is important. So when we are giving the products to the mass media, so whether the product is for the high income group, middle income group or the low income group, so based on that we have to decide about the pricing strategy. Then market channels are placed. So what are the various market channels? So we have the manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer and the consumer. So there are different channels of distribution. So it will be the manufacturer, the agent, then the representative and the consumer. So manufacturer directly to the consumer. So what are the various channels? Then promotion and marketing communications. So promotion, nowadays promotion is very, very important. So any product without promotion is bound to fail. So we have to see that proper promotion and marketing communication activities take place to see that the product becomes a success. Then we have the electronic markets. Now what are these electronic markets? So these are of the latest kinds in the business. So that is the electronic market through which we will be ordering or we are selling everything over the electronic media, or we can also call it as the online marketing. So now everything and anything is sold through online marketing. So internet has become a greatest game changer for the business community. So without having any products, you can just sell the products. So if you can create a network of all the suppliers, then online marketing is one of the best kind of a marketing you can have. So these are the various factors which affect the marketing strategy. Then explain the leadership channels in executing the strategy. So we all know that the strategies are the plans for the future of the organization. So when we strategize for the entire organization, it is essential for us to put it into implementation to see that these strategies are implemented. Now, when you are implementing the strategy, so what are those challenges which the leaders have to face? Now, the strategic leaders, we all know what are the traits of a good leader. So, we all know there are various kinds of leadership. We know that there are autocratic leaders, democratic leaders, free-rein leadership. So, the three kinds of leaders are there, and based on that, these leaders, what are the kinds of challenges they face when they are executing the strategy? The first one is the organizational change. So when the entire organization is going in for a change, so that will be a challenge for the leadership in the organization. Then second one is innovation. Now what do we mean by innovation? So when you have to innovate the products, or when you have to just innovate the entire company, so you discard all the old machinery of the company and see that the latest machinery are brought into place, then there is bound to be resistance from the employees. So they may fear that losing their jobs. So we have to first convince the employees and do all those innovations. Then the strategic influences. So what are the strategic influences which will be there when we are executing the strategy? Then lack of resources. So this is one of the biggest obstacle for any leader. So whenever we are trying to implement the strategy, we have to see that there is abundant resources for implementation of the strategy. The pressure to balance business performance with implementing the change. So when we are executing the strategy, so this strategy will have its bearing on the organizational performance. The organizational performance will not be the same under normal conditions or when there is a change in the entire organization. So it will affect the business performance. And how do you try to balance both? We should see that the change also takes place, but it should not affect the business performance. Now, how do you balance this? So these are the various leadership challenges the strategic leader will have to face when he is trying to change the entire organization. Then the next question is, discuss the factors that influence the HRM strategy. Now, what are the various factors? Now, what do we mean by HRM? HRM is nothing but the human resource management. So, any organization for that matter, it has to have human resources. The human resources are essential for any organization. So, what is the strategy you use to just appoint the human resources? That becomes the main subject of the HRM strategy. Now, in this HRM strategy, what are the factors influencing the HRM strategy? First one is the mission statement of the organization. So, what is the mission statement? So, what is the vision of the organization? Then we have the mission statement, and then based on the mission statement, we will be deciding on the other things in the organization. Then next one is the organizational strategy, size of the organization and organizational structure. So, in the organizational structure, how many positions you are creating in the organization and what kind of a position they are, what is the qualification for each position and how many positions you are creating, all this will affect the HRM. Then the size of the organization. If it is a very large organization, then you may have to appoint 20 to 30,000 people. Then how do you recruit so many people? Then organizational strategy. What is the strategy of the entire organization? So, based on all this, we will be having the HRM strategy. Then, in the external factors, we have the competition. So, what is the competition the company faces? What kind of a competition it faces? Then, next one is legislation and regulations. So, what is the regulations and legislation relating to the labor which the government has enumerated? Then, changes in international and the domestic economy. So, what kind of economy is there? So, if the economy is favorable, then we can have a very good HRM strategy. But if the economy is not favorable, then the HRM strategy will not work. So, we have to analyze all these things when we decide about the HRM strategy for the organization. Then we come to the part C. In this part C, it will comprise of 6 questions carrying 5 marks each. So, out of that you have to answer any 4 questions. So, in this they have asked what is the vision statement. Write short notes on the vision statement. Now, what is a vision statement? A mental picture of what you want to accomplish or achieve. So, vision is always connected to the founder or the promoter of the organization. The founder or the promoter will have his own dream of the organization, and that mental picture we call it as the vision. For example, your vision may be a successful winery business or an economical active community. So, whatever may be the vision that he has, so that mental picture we call it as the vision statement. Then next one is the TOWS matrix. So, TOWS, as you all know, it is the opposite of SWOT. So, SWOT means SWOT. So, when we write this SWOT backwards, it becomes TOWS. Now, what is this TOWS here? So, it is a grid just like the BCG matrix grid. So, we have a matrix grid here, and this grid comprises of 9 squares here, and in this usually the first square always leave it blank, and in the second square we enumerate all the strengths of the company. Then in the third square, we enumerate all the weaknesses of the company. Then here in this quadrant, we have this opportunities. So, we have a list of all the opportunities which are available before the company. Then USO strategies, that is you just align the strength with the opportunities. Use strengths to take advantage of the opportunities. So, what are the opportunities which are available before the company, and how do you correlate both, or how do you align the strength with the opportunities? Then we have the WO strategy, the weaknesses and the opportunities. Overcome weaknesses by taking advantage of the opportunities. You try to see that the company's weaknesses are gone by making use of the opportunities. Then we have the threats. So list out all the threats of the organization. Then you match the strengths with the threats. So use strengths to avoid the threats. Then we have the WT strategies, that is the weakness and the threat strategy. So minimize weaknesses and avoid the threats. So try to minimize all the weaknesses and try to avoid the threats. Then we have a next question that is based on financial strategy. Now, what do we mean by financial strategy? Financial strategy deals with areas such as financial resources, analysis of the cost structure, estimating profit potential, accounting functions, and so on. So, financial strategy relates to all the things related to the financial resources of the organization. So, it is an analysis of the cost structure. So, what is the cost structure the company has? What is the kind of a capital structure it has? What is the cost structure for the production unit? And also estimating the profit potential. So, what is the profit potential the company has? And accounting functions. So, all these come under the financial strategy. So, in short, it deals with the availability of resources, usages, and management of funds. So, what are the kinds of resources available? So, availability of resources. So, what are the various sources of funds which the company can capitalize on? Then, how do you utilize those funds? And the management of funds. So, what is the best way to allocate the funds? So, all these will be coming under financial strategy. It focuses on the alignment of financial management with the corporate and business objectives of an organization to gain strategic advantage. So, it is in the financial strategy, it is nothing but an alignment of the financial management with the corporate and the business objectives of the organization. Then, next question, we have the strategic business units. Now, what are these strategic business unit? It is a unit in the strategic management. It is a profit center which focuses on product offering and market segment. So, they typically have a discrete marketing plan, analysis of competition, and marketing campaign, even though they may be a part of the larger business entity. So, a strategic business unit in strategic management, it is nothing but a profit center which focuses on product offering or market segment. So, it is a kind of a business unit which will focus on the market segment, and they have discrete marketing, they have their own marketing plans, they have the analysis of the competition and marketing campaign, even though they may be a part of the larger business organization. Then, next one, we have the profit centers. Now, what do we mean by a profit center? It is a branch or a division of a company that directly adds or is expected to add to the entire organization's bottom line. So, it is treated as a separate standalone business responsible for generating its revenues and earnings. So, what is a profit center? It is a branch or a division of a company which is generating lot of revenue for the company. So, it is expected to add to the entire organization's bottom line. So, these profit centers, they are the main source of revenue for the entire company, and they are responsible for generating the revenues. So, you can elaborate on these points and write about half a page. Then, lastly, we have the SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis is a strategic planning and strategic management technique used to help a person or a organization identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, what are the organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats related to business competition or project planning? So, whether you are planning for a project or whether you are analyzing the business competition, you need to have a list of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats before the organization. So, when you make a list of this, so we can just say that the half the plan is done. So, when you are matching the strengths with the opportunities, you will be able to see in what direction the company can go. Sometimes it is also called situational assessment or analysis. So, situation analysis also is called as the SWOT analysis. So, with this, we come to the end of this session on the discussion on the model question paper for business policy for 6th Sem B.B.A. Hope you have all followed it. Thank you.